Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Stretch It Out podcast.
Woohoo!
Timed it much better than I did last night.
Did you? I know.
Yeah.
Guys, 2 episodes in a row. Boom, boom. Back to back.
Yeah, that was rough last night. It just didn't sound good to me.
You know what? I'd like to ask all the listeners, because to me you sounded perfectly fine. So maybe it's my eardrums that are just not that great. But to all the listeners, I'm going to post it on Instagram. Anybody who listened to yesterday's episode, write in and tell me if you noticed Nick's voice was different.
Yeah, like the quality just did not sound good. And you know what I think it was?
And I didn't hear it. I don't hear it. When I put on SoundCloud, I didn't hear it at all.
Well, I had these, it doesn't matter. I have these softbox lights that were behind my mic, and I think that the sound was reverberating off of it because it was right behind it, and that's what was causing it to sound the way it sounded. So I moved all that, right? Yeah, that's how long it's been since we've been in Podcastland that all my furniture has moved around.
Like we said, we had to dust off the mics.
Yeah. Yeah, that was all. If that was all we needed, right? Truth was, we needed a lot more than that, but
we're going back to square one. That's how long it's been.
Back to square one. But I forgot. I forgot to mention, because I'm always assuming that someone new's listening, right? But then I always think, like, do people listen when you listen? I don't know. When you listen to a podcast, do you listen to the latest podcast, or do you go listen to the first? Because I like to go back. You know what I mean? I guess it depends. For us, we're still under 25. This is episode 24, and so if I was going to listen to a podcast like this, maybe I wouldn't go back. You know why? Because all of our first episodes are like an hour long, and so if you look at the new ones, they're all 30 to 40 minutes. Thanks, Dad. Yeah. And
and Chris.
It's just less intimidating. Yeah, it's just less intimidating. You know, so I feel like, I mean, who wants to listen to, us two for more than a good 30, 40 minutes, right?
I mean, it'd be kind of cool to go back and listen to the first one, because then you understand a lot of like the smaller things that we had. You know,
that's a good point.
Secret word. You know,
yes,
intros.
Yes. All the stuff we do makes more sense, I guess. Yeah, I like that.
But personally, I don't. I listen to if someone tells me like, oh yeah, you should listen to this podcast, but they don't recommend an actual Nick's popular, guys. But if they don't recommend a specific episode, then I probably just look through the titles and choose at random. You know, That's me. So if this is you choosing at random, welcome to the Stretch It Out podcast with my older brother Nicholas and his baby sis Audrey.
Hey, nice job. Episode 24, Audrey takes over the intro.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I say we keep it. It was beautiful.
Step aside, Nick.
Yeah. For first timers, welcome to Podcastland with us. And, I assume that if you're listening for the first time, you've been to Podcastland with other great podcasts, but we appreciate you hanging out with us. So we had some good stuff to talk about today.
Yes. It's going to be a good episode.
Yeah. Let me go to my list of questions from all of our listeners.
To the list.
And
see them in the list.
All right. So our first question from one of our listeners, I'm not going to say, should I say who it was? Does it matter? I mean, it's a good question. And I think everybody's dealing with it right now. So
I think it's a good one. I think you should.
Okay. Yeah.
Props to this person. Okay.
So we'll give props, but we're not going to say it yet. We're going to ask the question first.
Yes.
And the question was, with everything that's going on right now, this pandemic and just so much unknown, and how, what are some things, or what are some tips, or what's your perspective on dealing with stress in these times, right? And I think a lot of parents right now are dealing with the kids going back to school and trying to figure out your work schedule. And I mean, it's worse than that for a lot of parents too. I mean, there's parents out there, without jobs. And so they've got that stress on them, and they're also trying to help, make this experience for their kids, going back to school, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. I mean, could you imagine, hey, I just lost my job, but I've got to figure out how to make this experience as best as possible for my kids. on top of everything else I've got going
Yeah.
on in my head. So, I mean, there's just so much going on out there, and I know I'm not touching on everything there, but it's a lot. And I think it's a good question. Obviously, you guys know this, right? But it's always good to just remind everybody. We don't feel like we know any better because we're behind a microphone. We
Yep.
don't have all the answers. In fact, we don't have really any answers. Suffice it to say, you might actually be hurting yourself listening to this podcast right now. That's how bad we can be. But
we're adding to the stress that
Yeah.
not knowing it.
But I say that because I think what we're trying to do here is just provide our perspective, and then also share with you that, the reality that we're all in, that we're stressed out too. Like we're dealing with that stuff, and maybe there's some things that we can do together, some things we can figure out together from, our experiences to help each other. Right. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. Right. It's just one of the many platforms available to us as human beings this day and age.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. We just want to help. Right. And so we appreciate the question, Alyssa. It's a great question. And Audrey, I don't know. I kind of felt like before we started, you kind of had a running start. Maybe you were going to try to take the first bit of this one, or did you just want me to take it?
For me, I don't have that perspective of when it comes to stress. I don't have the same perspective as you or other people who have children. I don't.
Yeah, yours is totally different.
And this is exactly why Nick said everything he said, because I also wanted to reiterate that I truly don't. When it comes to stress, I'm like the best person to run away from it. I don't think it's necessarily in a bad way, but I'm sure all of us do this. You know how you're having a great day, right? Everything went awesome for you, and then the second you put your head down to go to sleep, it's like all your demons and all your fears start to just come into your mind.
Yeah.
And you just start freaking out, right? So that's my stress right there. I could be going down to take a nap, and it's suddenly like, oh my gosh, Audrey, you're jobless. You've been jobless for almost half the year now, and you still haven't found anything. You're going to be homeless. And in that instance, it could be midnight, but in that instance, it's like I want to jump up out of bed and go and apply for even more jobs than I already have, So
scary
for me I know it happens to everybody, because I see the memes about, oh yeah, the second you lay your head down, it's like all your thoughts come out to play. And for me, it's I really have to, like, I'll literally, if I'm laying down, I have to sit up and kind of remind myself, like, there's no reason to stress about it in this moment, because there's truly nothing that I can do in this moment. My sleep is going to help jumpstart me for like the following morning to go do the things that I need to do. So it's more so like whether I have my journal that's right next to me, or if I don't have it available to me, it's just put my game plan together for the next day and then do my best to try and fall asleep. That's how I deal with that.
No, I appreciate that. And I can relate.
Right? So all your thoughts come out to play when you're all exhausted.
It's true. Especially when you're trying to wrap up the day and you're running through the day and, what could I have done better today? Where did I mess up? Who do I have to apologize to tomorrow? That's usually, especially on a night if you had a little too much to drink, you got to take a really good, thorough inventory of that. But I think that still helps, right? Because you still have stress, and you're still trying to figure your way through all of this, just like the rest of us. You're just in a different situation, but dealing with the same things, right? So as a parent, I can't even really speak to it, right? I think Courtney would be a great person to speak to it, because she's really kind of dealing with it. I'm fortunate that I'm working from home, but I don't feel like I'm doing really anything.
Like doing nothing different
to help. Yeah. Like I'm trying to, I know that sounds bad. Like I try to help out where I can. But it's different, right? But it's still it's weird. Like, let me put it that way. It's still weird. Like, it's weird working and having, the kids and Courtney here and them trying to get through their curriculum and stuff. And I don't know, it's strange, but I'm not really feeling a lot of stress from that. My stress is more just like work related. Right. And I'm very blessed that that's the case for me, because if I didn't have, Courtney doing what she's doing, and I mean, that's going to, makes it a little bit tougher, So, and actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to have to do that. I'm sure there's going to become a time, right, where I'm going to have to figure out how to balance, how to do what she's doing. But I don't know. It's different stresses for different people right now. And I think it's important that everybody knows that we're all kind of, I always find myself in that place where I'm just like, what the heck, man? Like, why am I so stressed out? And why is my anxiety so high? And I try to do the same thing, like step back and just like, okay, like I got to figure all this out.
You know what? I'm gonna cut you off. I'm sorry, because something popped into my head. And you talk a lot too. No, I'm just joking. I'm kidding. That was really mean. Sorry. But I think a lot of times, like, people are stressed out, especially I think for you as the man of the household, right? Like, you're, call me old fashioned, but I think the man should provide for the household,
Or try. Yeah.
Yes. That's it. I don't know. How do I put this into words of what I'm trying to say?
Like having the responsibility of providing.
Yeah. So it's like you have more weight. You feel, I should say, that you have more weight on your shoulders because you're like, I can't fail because I don't want to let my wife down. I don't want to let my children down. You have all that weight on your shoulders.
I think that's applicable across the board, right? I think there's plenty of
honestly,
moms out there that are the provider, and it's freaking, it's weighing on them on top of, everything else they're dealing with, the kids and COVID, right? So you've got like single moms out there too, but I'm just talking like married couples where the mom's the provider. She's the one bringing home the cheddar.
Yep.
And, and dad's got to help out. And, it's crazy, it's, I think the pressure of being the provider is a lot.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for, is the provider, who's the breadwinner, who's making the donuts, They feel more pressure on top of them. For me, because I'm not married at all, like, yes, I have a boyfriend. I think what stresses me out the most is that I constantly, and this is like that fear that comes into play, right? That I feel like I am completely alone. But in reality, okay, I mean, I live with Mama Maria and Uncle Rich. I live with Jenna's parents right now. And I know for a fact that they constantly, I mean, probably like every day, reiterate, like, they're always here for me if I ever need help, right? And then I got you, I got Dad, and I got my boyfriend, who everybody constantly reiterates, like, if you need help, I'm here. But because we become so stressed out, we get stuck in our own mind, especially for me, right before I fall asleep, that fear starts to kind of like cave in and make my light dim, because it makes me feel like I truly am alone. And that's what I have to constantly remind myself, was like, no, I'm not alone. Like, Murray and Rich aren't going to kick me out on the street. If my bank account goes into negative, I know that I can call you or Dad.
That's right. Absolutely.
Marcelo he always all the time says, like, he even says that he doesn't want you or Dad to worry, because he wants you guys to know that he always says, he goes, I'm here. Like, you don't need to worry.
Awesome.
Nobody needs. Yeah. But I think that's what stresses people out the most, is the feeling of being completely alone. And I think that gets into our own heads, right? Just like if you're the provider in the house, you're in your head, you're thinking, I'm the only one who can provide for the house, so everybody weighs on me. But that's not the case. There's different alternatives.
I think part of what makes you feel kind of that way, because I feel that way too at times, and I know there's a lot of people right now that feel that way, so I think this is good. But if you're like me, I tend to assume that everybody else deals with stress better than me.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
that's bad. That's wrong, right? And I'm talking to myself, but I'm talking to y'all. That is wrong. You can't make those assumptions because all I'm doing is it's just bad self talk. That's all it is, right? It doesn't matter how you dress it up, right? That's really what I'm doing, and I'm putting myself down by saying, well, everybody else deals with stress better than I do. And that's just not the case, right? And I was hoping that we would kind of get that across here, and and saying that it's rough. Stress is rough for everybody. I mean, there's so many different types of stress. I mean, we're touching on it very lightly, really, if you think about it. But what we wanted to really talk about is, what are some things we can do to help deal with stress, to help still be our best self when stress shows up. And I don't know that you actually ever completely get rid of stress because it's gonna exist or show up in life at different
Mm-hmm.
times, right? So I'm not saying that it's going to be there constantly, but I'm saying I think there's always going to be the possibility it's going to show up. I mean, it's just part of life. There's going to be different types of stresses, and I think that there's things we can do to help us deal with it. And something I like to do, right? Just listening to music, right? It seems super simple. And that's why I like that, because it's easy for me. It's an easy thing for me to just go, man, I'm just going to stop and just go listen to a song. But I'll admit I've done that before and had it take me the complete opposite.
So I was going to say, I feel like if you do music, this is kind of like the secret I'm thinking of which I've said in the past, is it depends on what kind of music. Because if you're going to listen to depressed music, then you're putting that out. You're projecting negative.
Now I'm like, now I'm bringing it in, right? Because I'm like, oh, well, it just feels good to cry.
Right? Just let it out.
I'm not saying a good cry every now and then isn't a good idea, but my point is, that's one thing that I can do usually, where I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna listen to music, just kind of clear my head, or sometimes it's just get up, walk around, right? Because my stress is usually work related for me, not because I have like a super high stressful job. I just put a lot on myself.
Yeah.
I put a lot of pressure on myself. I want to do well. I always want to over deliver, right? Which is like crazy. Like, who does that? And I put all that on myself. So my stress is almost always work related. I think when it comes to like my family and my friends and like that stuff, there's, I don't know. I'm not saying stress doesn't exist there, but there's less of it. And so for me, it's
I'll
always.
tell you what, I miss work stress so much. I'll never complain about it if I get a job.
I appreciate that perspective, because I need that. I need to check my perspective, right, too, when I'm like, oh gosh, like this is so rough. And I'll be honest, I feel like I've grown a lot there. Yes, it's been stressful, but I'm finding myself having that attitude of gratitude more often than I used to, and it's helping me. It's helping me it's actually having that attitude of gratitude is helping my stress. Like tremendously, I really took to heart when we talked about that, in that episode where we just talked about being grateful and I really tried to put that into practice, and it's cool because it's really helped calm my work stress, and you saying what you just said. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm telling myself. I'm not saying Audrey doesn't have a job. That's not what I'm telling myself, but I'm saying there's other people out there that would kill to have what I'm doing right now, to have the stress, kill to have the extra work on the weekends, and their boss calling them and saying, hey, I need you to get this done. They would kill to have this. So I need to be very, very grateful where I'm at. And that calms me a little, right? But not always.
I think it helps you embrace the stress a little bit easier. I think that's what it is. It's because you hear somebody else tell you. But I mean, we talked about it before, where it was like, when somebody tells you, oh, I wish I had the stress of work or something going on, you kind of embrace it more, because then you are more thankful for it. It does correct your perspective from somebody else's view. And then you're able to, now it's like a challenge of like, oh, I could do this. Somebody else misses it. Oh, I could do this. I could take on the stress and overcome it.
I like that. I like what you just did right there. That was perfect, because it is like taking the stress when you cross that threshold and it's no longer stress, it's just a challenge.
Yeah.
Right. It's different because now it's challenge accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm saying I got this, not going, oh my gosh, stress has me right now. How do I free myself from its grips? Right. Yeah. You can't do that. You have to, I think I love that. That's great. Taking notes.
I feel like it's like a pride thing. Cause you know, when you're a toddler, you don't want to share your toy, or maybe you're done playing with that toy and then someone else wants to play with it. Now suddenly you want that toy back. It's the same thing. If I were to say, oh God, I wish I had the stress that you have. Now you're like, well, I can handle it now. Give it back.
Right.
Give
You
it
can't
back to
take
me.
my stress. This is my stress.
This is my stress. You can't have it.
Yeah, I like it. You're fired. You can't fire me. I quit.
I think another, and I probably say this a lot to the point where I annoy people, but I think a really great stress reliever is exercise.
I love that one. I think it's a great stress reliever too.
It truly is. I honestly see a difference that if I don't work out, I honestly, I feel I've never been diagnosed with depression. I don't want to say I know what it feels like or anything, but there have been times where if I don't work out and I do eat like a lot of junk food and things like that, I honestly feel an instant, like, I don't know how to, like a chemical imbalance.
Right.
In me, right? To the point where it's like, I don't know how to explain this.
It just sucks. Sounds like it sucks.
It does suck, but it only lasts for maybe like 5 minutes, and I have to talk to myself. It's kind of like, I don't want to say homesick because I've never had that feeling of being homesick, or like, how do I explain this, guys? Let me know if anybody else has had this feeling. But it's like I instantly get sad.
Okay.
Okay. Like I just get sad. And I have to I will literally talk to myself. It's happened before when we've been on this podcast. It's happened to me before. And I personally, I've reached out to other people, doctors and things like that about it because I didn't know what it was. This isn't like a serious issue or anything. But
you just get sad out of nowhere. You're like, what the heck? It sucks.
Yeah,
right?
I just got sad for no reason. I'm like, why am I sad? But I have to talk to myself in my mind, so I feel a little bit crazy. Where I'm like, Audrey,
we
stop.
all have to do that.
I'm like,
we all have to do that.
Yeah, and I'm like, Audrey, why are you sad? And it could play many factors. It could be my body, my hormones, and I feel like a lot of women, especially on birth control, they do that. It happens to them, but it's important to figure out. To talk to yourself and figure out why you're feeling that.
But I got to get back to the exercise part because you bring up a good thing about exercise. Okay, I don't know where we were going there, but I got to get back to exercise.
But
and we only got a few minutes left.
When I didn't exercise, that's when it hits me. That comes it hits me like that. So that's why I personally enjoy working out, even if it's just a 5-minute walk. Just go outside. That's all it is. Just go outside and go walk around.
I agree. I think exercise is great. I think exercise is also just something that could be a little far-fetched for some people. You know what I mean? Like some people are so stressed out because I've been there. I'm just saying I've been there. Talk to Nick from 2 years ago and say, hey, Nick, just go exercise. I'm not receptive to that one, right? And I think now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have freaking started exercising, years ago, like more often,
Yeah.
So it does work. It's hands down. It's a great thing. But what about if I'm someone coming to you and I'm saying, man, I'm stressing and I'm so stressed because I just don't have time. I just don't have, I don't know what to do. I've got everything all over the place. It's kind of hard for you to just say, hey, just go work out, go exercise, because it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. Yeah. It kind of is, because if you're going to go sweat, you got to take a shower, right? And if I'm a woman, right, that means I got to do my hair and all that other jazz, my makeup, and right. So like for me, it's not a big deal, right? I'm in the shower, I spin around twice, I get out, and I'm fresh to death. Like, let's go. But working out, I love it, and I think it does work. It does wonders for me, and it has been, I think, a big benefit for me too in helping me manage my stress. But what else can we offer to our listeners, do you think, regarding just how to deal with stress?
Honestly, I think that if you're that deep into stress, like you were saying, where I understand that exercising isn't going to just help. It's not the magic pill kind of thing. It's something that has to
Right.
be done over time. But I mean, if you're that deep into stress, then I honestly recommend reading like self help books.
Nice. Love it. Because that's a big one. That's what I do
It
to
is,
help with stress. I read a
and
lot of self-help.
it's not like I said, it's not something that you're going to read a book for 1 week and be like, oh, all my stress is gone. No, because you're going to face issues later on that are going to like sporadically come up, and it's going to kind of give you that signal of like going back to that book of being like, oh, this is what that book was talking about. So, and
And
this is how I normally would address it, but I'm going to address it like this self help book recommended I should do it. Let me try something different. And then that's the only way you're going to progress into battling your stress, you know?
yeah, it's great. And you're spot on. And I think another thing I gained from reading self-help, because I read a lot. I read every day before I go to bed. And I think something that's common with self-help books too is something that we try to offer here in the Stretch It Out podcast. Same thing, right? It's they almost every self-help book you read. I mean, there's like a message of hope in there, right? But it starts with the struggle, kind of like how we started this podcast. It starts with being able to connect with you and relate with you and what it is that you're struggling with, and just doing that, reading that in a book or hearing someone talk about it on a podcast and then saying, here, I know how you feel and this is how, right? Uh, just someone saying, I know it's rough and it's rough on me too. I think we need that. And I get that from every self-help book. You hear
Mm-hmm.
from other people, you hear their perspective, and it helps you analyze yours and kind of look at it a little more honestly and go, man, am I looking at my situation the right way? Because this person's looking at it a little differently. And
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to gain, right? And
And
so self reading those books, I think that's what helps me a lot too, is I just get some of that helps me, just knowing that they understand, hearing, yeah, I've been through this, or I know how you feel, right? That's basically what they're saying.
yeah, because
But
when you're reading those books, and literally on paper there's somebody else who's writing something about this like similar situation that you're going through. Now it's helping you see like, oh, look at, I'm not the only one that is going through this. So, so I'm not really alone.
exactly. And for me too, when I'm like, oh my gosh, this person wrote a book about this. I'm
Yeah,
definitely not alone, right? And this is the New York bestseller, so
yeah.
like I'm
and they
good.
and they made it out alive. Like
Yeah,
that's
and
what
they're
it is.
they're
It's
still
like
kicking ass. Yeah, I can do the same thing.
they're
Yeah,
not.
you get a lot of that. You really do. It sounds corny, but it's true. Reading,
Yeah.
or doing this, listening to a podcast, like there's so many podcasts out there that have so much value to, kind of doing the same thing, and or audiobooks, or right. I mean, it's kind of sad that you have to search it out. It would be nice if there was more of that just on mainstream media, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But what's great is that we're in just like the prime time, for access to all this, because it's, you can go on YouTube, you can go on
I
Google,
know.
I mean, you can
Can,
get all of this stuff. It's there, right?
can
So
you imagine like back in what, the 90s? Anything before the 90s or 2000s? Like there was no internet where you could just go get an audio book or something. Like you really had to search for stuff like that.
yeah, library was popular.
Oh, I don't even know how to read. You remember those library cards where like you would how to find the book that you were looking for? You had to look at like the library
No,
card thing. I mean, I never knew how to
no
read
clue.
it because I was in the transition into the digital
I
age.
didn't read at all. Like in high school, I only read what I had to read. Like I didn't get into reading books until like just out of, I was like probably 20, 21.
So, I mean, I didn't read books unless I had to either. But I'm
But
like saying,
I
like
read them now.
nowadays, you don't have to go to the library. You have you got the Googs, you got the Googles, the
Yeah.
interwebs.
And I think you're right. Reading books is a great way to help, deal with stress. I like laughter. Laughter is my favorite medicine.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I always recommend Sebastian Maniscalco because he is my favorite comedian by far. There's a lot of great ones out there, but he is just my favorite. So I've been watching him since he was waiting tables. And
I think
if
he's all,
you
You said the funniest joke that when Jen and I were there, where he says,
Which one?
he's like, people proposing nowadays, and he's like, you're out to dinner, you look over at a table and a guy's proposing to his girl, and he puts the ring in the food, and he's like, babe, look in your mashed potatoes, and there's a ring, and that's how he proposes.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
And that's what I love about him is his perspective is just great, and he's funny, right? So he's I know there's a lot of heroes in our world, and he's kind of like one. He's pulled me through some pretty rough times, just making me smile, making me laugh. Not just me, my wife included. I'll tell you what, if you're ever in a argument or a debate with your significant other and you throw on Sebastian Maniscalco, it ain't gonna last much longer. So he's that good, right? And he's got an awesome podcast out. What's the name of it? It's like Sebastian and something.
Should I Google's it?
Yeah.
He's the first one that comes up too.
Because it's really good. I haven't watched it yet. Courtney keeps telling me about it. She's like, you gotta go check it out. It's so good because she thinks it's hilarious. I think it's a Sebastian and Pete show.
Yeah.
Or Pete
and
Sebastian.
Sebastian show podcast. That's what it comes up.
That's it. So Pete and the Pete and Sebastian show, iHeartRadio. Go check it out if you are stressing, because I think that'll help you a lot. So, and I haven't even watched it yet, and I'm promoting it, but I'm going to. Right? So
we'll come back and like,
it's Sebastian, but Courtney's been listening to it, so and she says it's just great. She's like, you got to check it out. It's great. So, anyways, that's it. That's all I got. I hope we provided some kind of value to y'all today. I mean, hopefully the audio sounded better. At least we accomplished that. But
so, what were 3 things? It was books, exercise, laughter, and
we kind of said exercise. Is that it?
Well, what did you say in the beginning? Look it, guys. I got to go back and listen to this episode because I can't even remember what Nick said.
I just said listening to music, but I don't think that really counted.
I think listening to music is good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm a big music guy. Music really does help me emotionally. Like music can take me places emotionally that just other things can't. So I assume that's the same for everybody.
So we got 4 things for you guys to try if you're stressed out this week. I know what I'll be doing. Exercising.
That's right. That's right.
You guys can see me right now because I'm doing like a dance with like 4 fingers in the air. Y'all, I can't wait till we do this on video. We should try it on the next episode.
We can't. It's not. It's still.
I thought it was there. I see it up on mine.
No, if you click on it, you can just go put yourself on the list. We're already on the list.
Oh, so. Okay, guys. We're on the list.
Soon. All right. Well, hey, thanks again for our question. And I know I said, let me go to our list. That was our only question. So we'd like some more. If you've got a question, a topic idea, even if it's just silly, it doesn't matter. Just send it to us.
And I'm going to go
give you full credit. Go ahead.
I'm going to go post it on Instagram to remind y'all. So send them in because who knows? Nick and I might do an episode tomorrow.
Send it in. We might do one tomorrow. You never know. It's just how it goes. I want to give a shout out to Keenan. Lefty.
Oh, yes, Keenan.
I just want to give a shout out to Keenan because he's a good friend of mine. We've become friends over the course of just a little bit of time here, and it's cool because we're thousands of miles apart. And just want to say thanks, man, for just being a good human being and for doing what you do on the No Name RC podcast and doing what you do with JQ and just for the RC community, but just above and beyond that, what you're really doing in this battle that exists in this world of good versus evil is you're promoting good. And I just want to praise you for that. You deserve that. You deserve those kudos on this little podcast we got called the Stretch It Out Podcast. But just much love and respect to you, my friend. As always, love you. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks to all of our listeners tuning in. We love y'all. And send us some stuff. Tell us what you want to hear. Send us some messages. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side, I guess, huh?
What are you guys facing? Bye, guys.
Peace. I want some Cinnabon.
Oh. When Jenna and I were on the road trip, the first gas station we went into was baking fresh Cinnabons.
Sounds delicious.
I know.
Should that be our secret? Should that be our secret word since I'm still recording?
Oh my goodness, I didn't even realize you. I was like trying to do this post for Instagram. Oh yeah, Cinnabon. That's the secret word.
Yeah. Is that one word? Is it 2 words?
No, it's Cinnabon. Yeah, it's Cinnabon.
Cinnabon. Okay.
Cinnabon.
All right. And
secret
then
words.
For the first person that we hear the secret word from, they get something, Cinnabon. Right? What did they get?
They get to get us Cinnabons.
Doesn't work like that. We'll have to do something for them, a special shout out, right? They get a special shout out. They were the first ones to get a secret word. We'll shout out, give them a shout out, and they can have us say whatever they want us to say or something. We can do that. We can afford that. That's in the budget.
Post on the IG.
Post it on the what?
Post it on the Insta.
Oh, do they have to post it on the Insta to qualify? Is that what you're saying?
No, I was saying we can post them, also give them a shout out on Insta.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll like give them a shout out everywhere. Say, hey, they got the secret word. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Then everyone's going to be like, what? Who are they?
Say what? All right. Say what? Well, secret word is, one more time.
Cinnabon.
All right, y'all. We love you guys. Peace.
Bye. Mwah.